What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the Warframe video. Today we're talking about Caliban and the changes he received like a week and a half ago at this point. DE is currently on vacation, so don't expect any more changes until like next week at least. And I still think that Caliban does need some new changes, which we'll go over today in the video. But actually, if you Helmith on a certain ability, he does feel pretty decent in at least disruption missions, and maybe some other places as well. So before we get into it, make sure you're following the live stream channel and the YouTube channel as well, so you can see when all the content's going up. Alright, so Caliban, what ability are we going to be subsuming on a Caliban to make him actually feel somewhat decent? Well, it should be no surprise to you if you watched the previous videos, it's Condemn from Harrow. And there's actually quite a few reasons why we're going for this. It's mostly to fill Caliban's very small niche in the game, I'd say, which is basically being a glorified Psychic Bolts user, like basically removing enemy armor and shields. So, his third ability, Lethal Progeny, still has some big problems. We'll talk about that briefly, but we can also talk about how it can potentially be useful to you. Sentient Wrath is a decent subsume and just a decent ability all around, but it's going to be really, the main two abilities you're going to use on Caliban is Fusion Strike, which will remove all enemy armor and shields with this build. We have a new build for Caliban if you watched the previous video. And Condemn from Harrow, just giving you shield getting and stunning enemies. So you can, so basically one of the big things they changed is they increased the radius of the explosion of Fusion Strike. And additionally, instead of blasting enemies all around the room like it used to, it will pull the enemies in like a vortex. So that's really good for what you want to use Caliban for, which is, getting enemies softened up and just in one spot, easy to kill. Additionally, he did get a base energy pool increase by like 25 energy. He still has major energy issues, but here's the build I'm going to be utilizing in the footage you'll see today. It's going to be, you might be like, why are you modding for health? It's just to increase the Umbral Intensify value to get it to our 200% exactly power strength. This will give us full armor removal with Fusion Strike. It will also give us 300 shields per enemy hit by the Condemn. So if we hit 2 enemies, we'll get our full shield gate back. If we're running a Decaying Dragon Key, that will give you your full shield back as well. Additionally, I found a funny little trick you can do with Caliban and his third ability, Lethal Progeny. So the way this ability works is when you are at 0 shields, these sentient minions will not restore your shields at all. You need to have some shields for them to start restoring it. Well, if you run at least one Augur mod, casting one of these sentient boys in the first place will give you some shields, because that's what Augur mods do. On ability cast, get some shields back. So cast one ability, and you get some shields, the sentient's already regenerating your shields. So that's a nice little thing you can do, make sure you're running at least one Augur mod in Caliban. And the rest of it is just, standard stuff. Since we do want some range for Condemn, you gotta put like at least one range mod on here. You're gonna definitely notice the difference if you don't have any range mods on here. And we've also got Prime Sure-Footed, and since we have more power strength, since we're running a 2 set of the Umbral bonus and a rank 8 Transient Fortitude, we can switch our Exilus mod, or whatever it's called, Aura mod, to anything we want. So that's the general gist of it. You definitely want Natural Talent because his cast speeds are slow, and you also want Prime Flow because his energy pool is low and he needs constant energy casts. The way it is right now, I'm going to recommend to you not to ever have more than one Lethal Progeny sentient minion on the map at a time, just because it is so energy hungry. 50 energy per cast for these dudes. They got 25-second duration. It's at base. It does not feel very good to be constantly casting these guys. They're really not worth the energy most of the time. And as far as other sources of damage, you can go with something like a gas build if you want to pull the enemies into one spot. If you have like a Nadaruk with a gas build, by the way, Caliban's Aptitude is bugged in the Nadaruk to get crazy damage, so maybe try that out. Or maybe even you can even kill enemies with your Conditioned Overload proc. I was using the Cyanex just because it's sentient themed for Caliban. And we've got the Venka Prime with a anti-Corpus build because the gameplay footage you will see is versus level 1000 plus Corpus enemies on the Steel Path, and you kind of want to have a Bane mod against the Corpus on the Steel Path if you're running that. So let's just quickly show how these abilities work. Now we're also going to talk about the energy problems this frame has. So 437 energy with our not maxed out Prime Flow. Let's get a bunch of gunners in here. We're going to show how this works. Remember, it used to knock them all over the place and it was a complete clown fiesta before. So now it's quite easy. Just cast your 4, and they're all pulled into one spot. Armor is removed. Something to keep in mind, that armor removal is not dispelled by nullification. So unlike most types of armor removal in the game, example, Seeking Shuriken from Ash, this is not dispelled. I think that might be a bug, but we'll see. We'll see if they decide that's a bug or not. So here's some level 1000 plus Steel Path gameplay. And so the general gist of this is you see a Demolist, that's a Demolist right there. Armor's all gone, in Disruption and just start wailing on with your team. If you run out of shields, use Condemn to get your shields back, or use Lethal Progeny to start regenerating shields. I'd probably recommend Condemn over Lethal Progeny just because Condemn actually does something useful in Lethal Progeny. The Sentient still can't hit enemies affected by Sentient Wrath. So there's definitely some AI problems with the 3, which we predicted before the release. And so yeah, the general gist of this, and how you want to play Caliban if you're playing him in Disruption like this, which I think is his only real place to be used, is you want to, basically find the Demolist, start your attack with Fusion Strike. Remove all the enemy armor and the enemy shields. If you're fighting against Corpus Demolist, they have shields and armor. Caliban's great for that because you remove shields as well. Once their armor is gone, then you use Condemn to chain them in place. Here's a perfect example. This is the most annoying Demolist we can fight. CO proc him up, he's done. You can Rolling Guard if you need to, but just like the Saren build, just like the Equinox build, with Rolling Guard and Condemn, you are very hard to kill. I think I died once in this entire 30+ round Disruption, and the only reason we left is because we were having some survivability issues on other team members who were new to doing endurance runs. So honestly, nothing against them. You gotta learn somewhere, and so. As you can see right here, I'm not even casting the Sentient boys. They just basically walk around and do nothing. And he's not going to be killing these enemies with his ability. You're killing enemies with your weapons. He's a very, very weapon-focused frame. For low-level missions, yeah, of course, your 4 can kill guys that can die to 10,000 damage. But for this, my Venka Prime are doing 50,000 damage directly to their health. And that's going to be one-shotting them. But yeah, his abilities are never going to be doing that, honestly. Even with 500% power strength, they would not be doing 100,000, 50,000 damage with his 4. So 200 is just enough. You don't need any more than 200 for him. And Condemn really doesn't need that much power strength either. So, Sentient Wrath is good for debuffing. I don't know exactly if the Sentient Wrath debuff does work on Demolist, but it kind of feels like it does. Don't forget that Condemn from Harrow does also work on Acolytes. So this Condemn ability, replacing his terrible Razor Gyre, which is still not good enough to be even considered an ability, honestly. It's the worst ability in the game, in my opinion. Now that that's been replaced, this gives him some good quality of life and usability against Acolytes and Demolist. There was a situation in this gameplay where I actually was fighting a Demolist and an Acolyte at the same time, and Condemn chained them both, and it was quite nice. So, yeah, I would probably recommend Condemn over, honestly, any other ability on Caliban, just because it is so good, and it makes, since he can't regen shields normally with, how his Sentient AI works, this is much, much better. And it also, stuns enemies, unconditional stun against most enemies. Let's go over some changes I'd like to make. I'd like to see done to Caliban to make him actually much better. And the biggest one is going to be, this dude has some energy issues for sure. I'd say either make his sentience that he summons have endless duration, or make it so they have no energy cost or something, because they're 50 energy per pop, or per sentient you summon, and they have such a low duration that you're chewing through your energy bar like crazy. If we didn't have a Protea in this mission, I would have had some major energy issues, because on the Steel Path, you can only use 1 energy pad per minute. So that's pretty rough, especially for a frame that relies entirely on abilities. In this gameplay, if I had no energy, I ain't doing nothing. So you need energy on this guy to do anything. There's the surprise Acolyte right there. Just go ahead and chain them both up. And the Acolyte was just collateral damage, basically. So change that. Make it so his energy economy is alleviated in some way. Because, like I said, you need energy on this guy. He doesn't do anything when he doesn't have energy up, like most frames, obviously. That's just step 1, I'd say. If Razor Gyre probably should just get removed outright. It is such a bad skill. It takes away your weapons. It does no damage. It does nothing. It does nothing. What is the purpose of Razor Gyre? I don't think I have it in any of these configs just because of how bad it is. Yeah, I've literally taken it off of every config. Let's pay 10 plat to see how bad this ability actually is. So yeah, look at that, 500 base damage. It increases over time, but the hitbox is wonky. You can't use your weapons. You can't Rolling Guard. You're just dead if you use this in any normal, or not normal, any high level situation. So this needs an entire rework or removal. I'd say just be like me and put Condemn in that slot. You're gonna be doing much better off. Sentient Wrath is fine. I like the ability a lot. It's just, Condemn is better, but now we have Condemn and Sentient Wrath, so that's good. Like I said, this one, maybe hold the ability down to summon all 3 Sentients for 75 energy, or just make them have no durations, or no, endless durations, so you don't have to recast them. shooting through the energy bar. And Fusion Strike, they did buff the radius from 8 meters base to 10 meters base, so that does make it scale with range a little bit better. I don't know, maybe just increase all his cast times across the board so I don't need to run natural talent. So that's basically it. He's okay, he's decent, he's definitely nothing top tier, but I do think he's much more useful than Yareli. There was actually some conversations going around, is Yareli better than Caliban? I was never on the team Yareli ever on Yareli being better than Caliban, because he can actually do stuff that's somewhat decent, fully removing enemy armor quite easily. Now, it is a worse version of Nyx's too, but, whatever, I guess. At least it does 10,000 damage at the same time. So, yeah, let's see if we can summon a Demolist in here just real quick so I can show you that in here. And we have a Demolist Moa. I think that guy's going to have shields too. So, the nice thing about this, and the reason I think it might be bugged, is just because this is permanent. His shield's going to be all gone forever, which is actually a very big chunk of damage against these types of Demolists that have the armor and the health. So that's pretty nice. He has his niche. I will probably use him. Like if he gets a couple more buffs, I can see myself playing this frame quite a bit. So yeah, hopefully you guys find this video helpful. If you do enjoy Caliban, go for it, man. I definitely would say still don't get a second one for Subsume. Just use Condemn instead. If they do end up nerfing Condemn, I don't know. It's so good that they'd have to nerf it heavily for me to not use it anymore, especially in all these frames that don't even need a stun, but some shield getting is nice too. So I'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks for all the support, and have a happy new year. Peace.